Local recording. And hello, movie lovers. And today I actually have my good friend Josh, and we're going to be doing our Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio spoiler review. This is actually airing on Netflix right now, and we can't wait to actually dive into this film. We both enjoy this film. Don will be joining us in a few minutes, so let's go on ahead. Let's do this. How you doing, good sir?
I'm wonderful. I pledge my sword to the movie lovers uniting in the terms of Guillermo del Toro's.
And just like that. All right, so here's the thing. I really enjoy Guillermo del Toro's uh, version of Pinocchio. I thought it was 10 times better than.
Absolutely. You're damn right. It's better than that piece of crap.
Yes, it's 10 times better than that Disney version that we got. And I have to say, the first 20 minutes of it, I was actually more engaged in that compared to where we were with the Disney action adaptation of Pinocchio. Because I really didn't like that version at all. You didn't like that version at all.
I hated it. I was played for a puppet. It was so stale and wooden. I never realized how many strings were on me at the moment that that movie was put
No,
out.
no strings were supposed to be on you, Josh.
It's just it's like, why would Disney think that that was an appropriate
I don't know.
release? It was so bad. And
It
so
was.
like just to see this, and it was funny because it's like, well, we got two Pinocchio movies coming out the same year, months apart. It's like, okay, well, it's Guillermo del Toro. I always like Guillermo, so I, I feel like automatically I'm thinking, okay, I feel like this will definitely be the superior movie, and it by miles, it is the superior film. I really, I'm gonna go back and rewatch this maybe a few
This
times.
movie
I really
definitely
like.
does. I'm going to be honest with you, man. This movie definitely deserves the rewatchability because of the fact that it does a better job at setting up who Geppetto actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Where, especially when you go in ahead and talk about his son, which, Carlo. And the thing that I really liked about that was, okay, so you actually see Geppetto, and him and his son is having that bonding connection where you actually understand who Geppetto is, you understand who Carlo is. He's
Mm-hmm.
teaching him about Christianity. You're also seeing him at the dinner table. He's learning how to cut the wood and all that other stuff. And then he winds up going over to the church, going over to the church and everything to try and do Jesus. You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about. That
Mm-hmm.
scene where he's
Making the
actually,
crucifix. Mm-hmm.
yeah, doing the crucifix for the church. So you actually know what kind of person Geppetto is. I also like the fact that this movie also makes the audience announce what the audience is actually thinking. For instance, you have that one scene where Geppetto's uh, cutting, well, basically just telling his son about the pine cone. And he said, "No, you don't want that kind of pine cone because of the fact that it has look at all the edges; it's missing."
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, wow, he's a perfectionist. Next thing I know it, whenever he's going through that little town, it's like, oh, Geppetto. He's such a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I like that. And then, of course, you also have the Italian accents in this one compared to that movie, the other movie that we got, which had no Italian accents. And I thought that Guillermo del Toro definitely does a good job with that. But what did you think of the opening sequence when you look at the
Um,
characterization?
the opening sequence to me is some of the honestly one of the best in animation, one of the best in recent years, simply because of how much character and story we got in such a simple amount of time, and we definitely see that bond between Geppetto and Carlo to set us up for the rest of the movie because Geppetto goes through he goes through a very emotional journey throughout the movie. And after what happens to Carlo, you just see this man become a shell of himself. He turns to alcohol. He's drinking all the time. He's barely even doing things in his shop. He's not happy. He's angry. He's short with people. And I think that the loss of Carlo and the way that in which he was lost. And it wasn't like he was doing anything, reckless. It would just have the timing of the place that he was in, going back in the church, and then the bomb dropping during the war. It, yeah, no, I like the setting that they chose World War II to even showcase more of the struggle that was going on, because throughout the movie, it's a war with your emotions. Like, I mean, especially in Geppetto's case, like, I mean, at the beginning we see him, he's happy, he's loving, he's enjoying spending time with his son. Then we have to see him go through this whole shift of, well, he lost his son, and now he's broken, and now
Well,
he's, mm,
it definitely pulls on your heartstrings, especially whenever you have the town that looks up to you, looks up to your son, has that respect for you. Then you have the town where now, because of the fact that he lost his son, and because of the fact he's broken now, and he's also turning into with alcohol, and the town is now in disarray and also turning against him,
hmm
being basically the town's buffoon, if you think context. Then I also like this one scene where basically you see Carlo. He finally finds the perfect pine cone, and then he wants the bomb gets dropped. They didn't even mean to kill the kid or anything like that because they were just trying to have the weight being let go on the bombs at
yep,
that
that's
time.
it.
And so they accidentally bombed the church, and then that's of course where he winds up losing Carlo. And then a couple of years pass, and Geppetto's actually drunk, like you said, and then you also have the part where Jiminy Cricket comes in, and I like how they put Jiminy Cricket into the tree
Yeah,
and is telling it from his perspective on how he actually sees Geppetto. I thought that was a very sweet touch on how they actually did something different versus what they did with the Disney movies.
right, for sure. Yeah, no, I thought that was a very I love this Jiminy Cricket. I think I love this Jiminy Cricket even more so than the '40s version of Pinocchio. Like, I think it's just not so much. Not saying that he was one dimensional, but I think that this one just had many more layers than '40s Pinocchio. Um, I don't want to skip to the end, but I just have to say real quick that last speech that he gave to the wood sprite, I felt that. John, I was on the verge of tears. I can't. I was on the verge of tears. I felt that because he was trying his best, and I loved every nuance and detail. I loved the detail down to the fact that he had the little mustache on his face and all. He just like a little. Did you notice that he had a mustache?
Yeah, I noticed he had like a little beard or something like that to show
Mm-hmm.
his age,
Kind of like the
show that he's
Monopoly
also
man.
as aging in this as well. So I thought the little details in this to me is just perfect with
Yeah.
writing because of the fact that that this guy is supposed to be guiding him. Jimmy Kirk is supposed to be guiding him, and then Geppetto's also aged a lot, even though he's already old whenever he has Carlo.
hmm
But there's little bit of aging with Geppetto as well, so it goes in well with the timeline, and it fits within the timeline of the storytelling
Absolutely.
as well.
I even like.
And
Oh, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say. As far as Jiminy goes, I like the fact that everybody could understand him, and it wasn't just Pinocchio that could hear him. I mean, Geppetto could hear him. Even the baboon. What was his name? Oh my goodness, I forgot
Oh,
the
who are you
baboon's
talking
name.
about?
No, he's the one I'm talking about. Was it like Sartuzo?
I think it's Artuzo.
Something like that. I can't remember. Yeah, but like everybody could understand him. It wasn't just Pinocchio that could hear him. Everyone else could. So that was another detail that I liked about Jiminy.
But yeah, Jiminy was actually the best part of this live action adaptation. And then of course you see him looking down at him, and he's wondering what's going on with Geppetto. And then one stormy night, Geppetto winds up chopping down the tree. And then when he chops down the tree, Jiminy's actually in that hole where he's supposed to be at. And so he chops him down, and then all of a sudden it turns into basically a horror movie if you think about it like this, where he winds up cutting down the tree, and then he drags the tree into this cottage, and then he's over there chopping it up. And then I like how they go with the lightning, where you wind up seeing this shadow of Geppetto, and he's over there taking the tree apart to make the legs, to make the arms, and it looks like something out of like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in the base of the way that
I was just about to
um
say, yep.
doesn't it remind you of that, Josh? Doesn't it remind you of like a Mary Shelley's Frankenstein kind of vibe to it, where you have this horror element of this scene, and then he's putting together the puppet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly what I got from it. I was just waiting for the lightning to actually strike Pinocchio, but that wouldn't work. It would only burn the bastard. But
Right. And by the way, we're going to get into why Pinocchio is probably the most annoying version of Pinocchio in this movie, but it fits within the storyline itself.
yeah,
But I just thought he was very annoying at like the first 20 or 30 minutes of it.
for sure. But like I do understand why they. I guess I kind of get why they did it that way. Also to separate themselves from Disney, even further. So,
I'm
um,
glad that they did, though, because all Disney's version was like a pink by the numbers reincarnation of what the cartoon version was.
hmm
And this one seemed like it was more of the actual story within the book itself and not anything connected in with the Pinocchio animated movie or the live action adaptation. That's something I really appreciate from Guillermo del Toro, what he did with that.
and I don't even know if like some of the as far as the mystical and spiritual elements, I don't know if that was in the original book. But if he just added mythology, I think that just shows another flex in his creativity. I thought that those were brilliant elements that really brought me further in. I like seeing the different spirits and how they looked. Even now, look, the rabbits to me in the underworld, they were hilarious, but
they
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 were a
were
great addition too. The one with the spirits, they were sisters. There's like one's in the underworld, one's kind of in the surface world in a way. And their design, I loved the designs of all of them. Just this whole work. Can we talk about the animation? Like this is
animation
some
is
of the
fantastic.
best yes, some of the best stop motion animation I've ever seen. And I enjoy stop motion films like Chicken Run, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Isle of Dogs. But just the detail and the work that's put into this. I mean, even you can feel just looking at Pinocchio, you can just tell. Look at the texture. My goodness, you could reach out and be like Splinter. Like,
Well, get this. They actually had three different Pinocchio designs for three different shots. Not only that, but they also Guillermo del Toro also fought them on not having CGI or
wow.
um, digital animation. He fought hard on that, and it paid off. And this is actually him in the works with it over God knows how long. He's been fighting for a Pinocchio movie.
Wow. Nah, he did the thing. He did this. This it's incredible. I mean, sure, he's missing an ear, but I mean, it's but it's phenomenal work that's being done.
But I like the fact that he's missing something because it shows the imperfectness of who Pinocchio is.
Hmm.
So I liked how they did that
That's a bar. I like that. I like how you put that together. Absolutely, yeah. No, seriously.
because it shows the imperfectness of of him being a child and not understanding the world, and he shows that he's like incomplete because of the fact that he doesn't understand the world and the way the world works. And to a child, the way that the child looks, everything is kid friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Like we see that within his eyes, within his lenses, whenever he wakes up, and with the blue fairy. And I like how the blue fairy comes in there, and Jiminy's like, "Well, I'll do the best I can do because that's the way that I'm gonna be." I forgot the exact quote, but
He's like the best. I'm gonna. What did he say? He said, "I'll try my best,
that's the best I can do.
and that's the best I can do." Yeah, because it's the
And
best I can
so,
do.
as a matter of fact, I said that to my wife today. She goes, "Can you do this?" I'll do my best, and that's the best I can
I
do.
can do. That's a T-shirt right there.
She goes, "What?"
I
She's
just
like,
asked you to take out the mail. Like, I'll do my best. That's like,
Where did you get that from?" Then all of a sudden, I'm turning to Christian Harloff. I wish I knew.
I wish. I wish I knew now what I knew then.
Right? But but still, though, I mean, this, and then of course, Puppet wakes up after the Blue Fairy tells Jiminy, "Hey, look, if you do this, if you let him be the conscious, be his guide, because you're already living in his heart. I'll grant you any wish. He goes, oh, fame, fortune,
Fortune.
yes, whatever you want. Okay, so he goes on ahead. Blue Fairy goes on ahead, does what she does. She leaves. Geppetto wakes up the next morning, hungover, and the puppet's not there. Then all of a sudden, now this is also another thing that turns into a horror movie. It turns into like The Grudge,
I was gonna say like Night of the Living Dummy, but I see what you mean there too. Yeah,
right?
no.
Because the way the spider like thing with the wood and the way that it's like really
Hmm.
creepy and eerie, I don't blame him. I would actually get an axe too and see what's going up there. He winds up falling down once he winds up seeing the look of Pinocchio. He goes, "I'm your son." He goes, "You're not my son."
You're just a puppet.
Stop it. Then the axe almost winds up chopping Geppetto's balls off, and then
It's just it got real brutal real quick.
and then Pinocchio picks up the axe, the hatchet, and then he goes, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, what's this? It's an axe. What is it used for?" And then all of a sudden he has like ADD and just goes on ahead, picks up the hatchet, throws it, and it lands in between Geppetto's legs again almost. Geppetto catches it. Then next thing you know it, he turns into Jack Skeleton of like basically saying, "What's this?"
Hmm.
And he's saying, "Well, what's this?" "Oh, that's a hammer. You smash things." And then next thing you know, you see Pinocchio smashing things, destroying Geppetto's work. Because I like it. And then next thing you know, he sees, "What's this?" "Oh, that's a clock." "And what does it do?" And he tells him what it does, and then he breaks the cuckoo clock.
That's just so destructive. I'm just,
He's
are
like
you
Dennis the
okay, sir?
Menace.
Yes, exactly. I like yes, yeah. Like I mean, everything he touched, he just felt the need to break. And then it comes down to the point where you will not do as you're told until you get hot chocolate. What I really want to understand is this though. How do your taste buds work? you are
Well,
you are merely made of pine.
Father, this is what made me laugh. "Father, I really want hot chocolate. I really want hot chocolate. Give me hot chocolate." "Okay, here." And I'm thinking to myself, is he going to get wood burn instead of heartburn since he doesn't have a heart?
That's,
so,
that's brilliant. Oh my god.
so yeah, I was just thinking, and then I was also thinking too, was his? I would love to see like little like smoke coming out of him to show that he's where he can't taste anything. But they don't even show it. They don't even show that. Which I wish that Gummo would have put that detail in it.
I
And
wonder if his
they have
taste
the little kid looking at him like he's like stupid. And then there's also this other part that happens where he's too close to the fire because the kid tells him to put his feet in the fire.
right. It's like, look, father, my feet are on fire.
And he says, "Pinocchio, what are you doing?" He goes, "I like it when my feet are on fire." I'm like, what? And then he goes, then once he's putting him to bed, once he winds up putting him to bed because now he has to go to school, he's like, "It's okay, Pinocchio. I'll make you some new legs." He goes, "Cricket legs? No."
I make
Some
you
regular legs.
some better new legs. But think about it though. Imagine being able to just put your feet in fire.
I can, but I don't.
And then you go to your dad and you're like, hey dad, can you make me some new legs?
Hey, I need some new Jordans. Can you carve me some Jordans?
As soon as that happened, why, for some reason, that and then the utter annoyance that he was, you know, that he was at that point in time. Every time he said something crazy or ridiculous, up until I felt like his character shifted, I genuinely only thought about the scene in Lord of the Rings at the very beginning
Which part was that?
when Elrond tells Isildur to cast the ring into the fire.
Oh my god. You're ready to burn him though. Like
I
listen.
was. I was like, kid, if you don't sit down, because when the Podesta and the priest came, then when they went to the church,
Oh
and
god.
he just was loud as I don't know what. He tells them to stay trapped in the house, leaves him in
Right.
the cellar. And he goes, he goes to the church. He says, "I'll be right back." He goes to the church, like, "Papa, I'm here." And then they're all like, "What sorcery is this?" It's like, or Hunchback of Notre
Another
Dame.
thing he does is this. He goes, "I want to go to church too. I
Go
want to
to
go to church." And then Jimmy's trying to stop him. He goes, "No." And he tries to sing a song. He goes, "You gotta do what your father tells you to do." And all of a sudden, bam, slams him up against the wall with the door. He's like, "I don't want to listen." And then next thing you know,
do as you're told.
next thing you know, when he goes to the church, like you said, and he's over there looking at the crucifix of Jesus. And he's mocking the thing, but here's the thing, though. I didn't. People might want to find that a little bit offensive, whatever. But I'm like, no. If I was made out of wood, and if I was not understanding the concept of it, that's how I would actually react to something that I didn't understand.
That's true.
And
That's
then
true.
I also like how Pinocchio calls out the church people on their own BS, though, too. Because why are they treating me different? Then
Mm,
Geppetto turns around and he says, because people are afraid of what they don't understand.
yup.
And I'm like, okay, I like where they're going with it.
Hmm.
Yes, he's obnoxious. Yes, he's loud, but he's questioning other people's motives though too. So that was very smart thinking on Gilmo's part to put that part in it.
I think that just adds another dimension to his character too. I mean, like, you're right. I mean, we've always known Pinocchio to be curious, um, but for him to have that question, it just shows a different level of his,
Right, because it's like,
his understanding for humanity. It's like, well, why is it that I know that obviously I'm different. Obviously, I can tell that you guys are different, but I'm accepting of the differences. But you guys are automatically just assuming demon, witchcraft, sorcery. Who did this? How is he controlling him? How are you truly alive? Are you even real, boy? Like, I mean,
and
but
then even the priest is like, Geppetto, after all these years, you didn't even think about doing the crucifix, finishing the crucifix of Jesus, and here you are making a puppet.
hmm.
And I'm thought to myself, you are such a douchebag. I
And then had
was
the
like,
nerve to come to his house later on with the Podesta.
yeah.
And, like, bullshit.
Like, you mean to tell me that nobody else could actually finish Jesus?
Not with the skill of Master Geppetto, the perfectionist.
Right.
I mean, they could have probably went to the next town over and maybe found some distant descendant of Michelangelo. Maybe they could, I don't know, could have done that, but they chose not to. Said, no, 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 no. We'll wait till Geppetto's drunken rage is done and when his sanity is collected, and then we'll get him to finish Jesus for us. But
Right. And then, like you said, the other douchebag shows up with him and his son. And then, of course, that's the Coco scene we talked about, the hot chocolate scene.
did you know I just found this out? That was Ron Perlman.
Yeah, I just found that out too.
Yeah, I was like, shoot, okay, that was Ron. I knew Ewan McGregor was Jiminy Cricket,
Right.
but I did not realize that Ron Perlman was the Podesta, which I think that's really cool.
I think so too. I think that actually fits Ron Perlman to a T,
Oh
him
yeah,
playing that character
come
too.
on, you and I are Sons of Anarchy fans. We
Right.
we love the villain of Clay Morrow. Like, come on,
Unfortunately, I do.
yeah,
Very much so.
yeah.
Um, so count another thing though too is like on his way to school because that's the next day, and he gives Geppetto winds up giving him Carlos's book,
Hmm.
and he winds up basically he said, "Look, this is his book, and now I'm giving it to you. Now you need to go to school." So on his way to school, that's whenever he runs into the the monkey,
Oh,
and yeah,
I'm so mad I can't remember his name right now. Spazitorno.
right, something like that. But Count Volpe convinces Pinocchio to join his circus and gets him to sign a contract. Uh, and so the way he signs the contract is with the sun.
It's it's I was listen. It's just when I saw the whole cast for this. Like, did you read the whole cast list for this?
No,
Dude, it's crazy. Okay, look. one of my favorite actors, Bern Gorman, played the priest. You may know him from if you've seen Turn or he wasn't in Twilight. He was in Game of Thrones. I forgot which one he played. He was one of the wilder ones when I guess when they took over um the camp with the all the girls that were incest. The dad was sleeping with all of
It's
them.
just like every other. That's every character on Game of Thrones.
It's fucking ridiculous, right? Then you got Finn Wolfhard. He was Candlewick. John Turturro was Dottore. I don't know who Dottore was.
Del Toro, not Del Toro.
Um,
Anyways, I know who you're talking about.
yeah. Then Kate Blanchett played the baboon. She was Spazzatura.
Wow, I did not know that.
Right. Tim Blake Nelson played all the Black Rabbits. Love Tim Blake. And Christoph Waltz played Count Volpe. Tilda Swinton was the wood sprite. Tom Kenny was Mussolini. Oh, that's so brilliant. He came in short supply. But we're not there yet. But that's like some of the main cast. That's pretty cool. Um, yeah, I was gonna say that the interesting that now that we're actually talking about Count Volpe, um, fun fact for you. So in the original, you know how it's a fox, right? Check this out. So I've read and studied animals for like a very long time. So the binomial nomenclature or the genus name of a fox in Latin is actually Vulpes vulpes, Count Volpe. And he still
Wow,
had the right, and he still had the with
makes
his hair,
sense.
and it's like he's a fox, he's cunning, he's a trickster. It's like that works. I said that's brilliant detail. That's what I loved about this. Just the attention to detail I thought was
Same.
really, really yeah. I've been wanting to say that all day. I was literally just
But you just blew my mind though because I had no idea about that until you just mentioned it. So that's pretty cool.
fucking
I
love
also
that.
like the fact that we're not. I was thinking Drumboli. I thought we were actually going to have
I
the
thought
same.
so too.
But then whenever I saw him, I'm like, okay, I like what they're going with it. It's not a paint by the numbers thing, a complete rehash of the animated cartoon or the live action adaptation, making it its own thing. And I appreciate it a lot more. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, so this is what they're giving us. Okay, I'll go with it because I actually enjoyed it.
yeah.
And then when he goes, and then Geppetto tries to step in, and he goes, look, father, I'm a star. I'm gonna be a star. And he goes, no, you need to go to school. And then, of course, that's when he goes, well, he can't leave because of the fact that he signed a contract. He goes, what contract? And he has the signatures of a son.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, how do you even know that he even signed that? And it kind of reminds me of the father who wants to get like the cheap deal at a restaurant. Where he
Mm-hmm.
goes, how old is your son? He's 8. No, shut your mouth. And so then Pinocchio just looks, yeah, that's mine.
I
That's
drew
mine,
that.
Papa.
But you don't close your mouth.
And then what winds up happening? He winds up dying.
Oh yeah, when
Yeah,
they were fighting over him in the alley. That's
this is what
right.
we were talking about because he was lying so much.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened? I got jumped by these circus people, and that's how I winded up over here. And his nose kept on growing, and then even whenever, like we said, this little turd was even whenever he still gets run over, he still was lying.
Still lying. How are you? Listen, it was so funny because when it happened, I just thought back to that riddle from the Batman, and they're saying, "What does a liar do when he's dead? He lies still." It's like, I was like, and I remember being in the theater and I saw that. I said, "He lies still." That's the answer. And sure enough, it was. And here I go watch Pinocchio. Oh, well, the liar's clearly dead, but he lies still. So it's just like,
But I definitely like the afterlife stuff. That actually took me for a loop. I'm like, wait, where are we? Because I haven't seen this done before.
hmm
It kind of threw me for a loop. It didn't take me out of it. It was making me question where he was actually at. You
and
know?
yeah, like it was just different, and I liked that. Like I said, it added another element to the overall story. I don't know if that was in the original, but let's say it wasn't. If it wasn't, that's just genius. As far as expanding the lore of Pinocchio, uh, because I like those scenes where we got with the rabbits, where we see the other sprite from the underworld, and she's just explaining how the world works, and that how every time he dies, he has to stay just a little bit longer, but he's never going to truly die. But then we don't know. There's a twist to it until a little bit later. And I know, we're not there yet, but just throwing that out there. But I did like how they explained things in that world, though.
Me too. And I also like how he meets Death. Death winds up telling him, look, when this hourglass winds up diminishing, you go back to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, one more question. Next thing you know, he goes back over to
It just sinks in. All of a sudden, he's in the autopsy room.
right. And then here they are in the living. They're all wondering. And then Geppetto's like, well, you can't sign him now. He's dead. He goes, I can still make it work. So then, of course, he winds up coming back to life, and then that's when Ron Perlman's character comes in. He goes, "Well, that's it. He has to go to war."
He
I'm
can
like,
be an
what?
ultimate weapon. He can never die. The lady's in the back. It's a miracle.
But then I'm thinking to myself, well, what happens if a torpedo lands on him and makes him explode? Where he wood's all over the place.
I am so glad you asked that because I had that exact same question at the end. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. I had that exact same question. So, wait a minute. So
That's what I
how
was
does it
wondering
work?
about.
If you're gonna blow all the way up, I'm thinking. So do your pieces just come back together? Do we have to gather your parts all over again? You have to like how does this
You
work?
just regenerate? Do they just come back together like Deadpool, or how does
You
that
know,
work?
you get like baby wood hands or something. I don't know. Your tiny mini branches, just
But I'm like, so
small
you're gonna put a
saplings.
wooden puppet? I mean, for him, it makes sense because he's all about war, defending your country, and honoring your country.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, you're gonna get a wooden puppet to try to defend your country? A
Weird,
puppet
right?
that's not very good at attention spans?
Crazy. No, it's crazy you say that because wasn't hold on now. Correct me if I'm wrong. The scene following that he didn't return with Volpe yet. He went off to training camp. Correct.
Well, first he goes on ahead and goes with Geppetto.
Right.
Because remember, he goes, that's it, we're leaving.
Hmm.
And then he winds up yelling at Pinocchio and tells him, you're such a burden to me.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yep.
And he said, I have to pay Volpe for what you went for that fee while you
Yep.
go off to war now. He goes,
Hmm.
why do I have to go to war? Well, first he goes, I love war. Don't even
You're
have a clue
no
what
idea.
war is. And then he goes on ahead and he says, you have to go because you've been drafted. Because why do I have to go, Papa? Why do I have to go? I just don't understand it. And he goes, I don't have time to go into this with you. I already owe a fortune to the person that you winded up doing the carnival for. Now I have to put you in war now because of your age.
Mm-hmm.
So now, while you're fighting the war, I have to pay this debt now. So, and he goes, "You're such a burden to me." So then he goes on ahead. They go to bed. Pinocchio winds up running away. He puts a picture of the sun to show his father that he's going to leave and to pay for his debts that he actually owes. And then that's when he goes on this carny ride.
And he trapped Jiminy in the glass so that he
Yeah,
couldn't. You know, I thought that was definitely a standout scene because when he called him a burden, it was like, man, I know you're
oh,
pissed, dude, but like, ooh, but it's just, it, wow, just the writing, man. The other thing that caught me is when we're talking about the war, as far as people's ages goes, we don't know exactly how young these boys are, but they are young. And so it's like, man, just think about being there back during that time. You've barely lived life yet, and you already have to go and pretty much put yours on the line to defend your country, and you haven't even experienced life. What are you like? They couldn't have been no more than at least 12,
I would say 10 at
10.
most, 10 to 12 probably.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And like that's probably that age gap that they were in. It's like, man, already. And then the fact that some of the the adults were so
Gun ho over it.
yeah, and like adamant about it, like there was nothing weird about it. Like we're just gonna send a 12-year-old off to war, like it's nothing. Really? Ah, mm, Not a problem. World War II was a different time, which
Actually, it
and
was World War One.
those
That
were
this was, yeah,
really it
yeah,
was war. Okay. Oh
yeah. It
wait,
was
it
looking
was
through my notes. It's World War One.
okay,
I
huh?
thought at first it was World War Two because
Yeah,
of the way
because
the plane.
yeah, that and then Mussolini's rise was increased more during World War II. So, okay, all right. Hmm. Well, there you have it.
It
Yeah, but I thought that was a nice touch in addition.
was. It definitely was. And then I like the My Papa song that Pinocchio is singing. I definitely like that song out of the soundtrack. If you
Hmm.
look at the songs that they were singing, and then after that winds up happening, finally, uh, basically Pinocchio winds up finding out that dude's been basically cheating him out of his money and decides that he wants to go back to Geppetto.
Hmm.
And then that's whenever he runs into Ron Perlman's character again. And then that's whenever he sends him off to go to war.
That
And basically, it's a training camp for the youth to get prepared for war.
which was insane. Like just watching them train, and then um, oh my goodness, the whole incident with the son, when he finished the race before Pinocchio. No, Pinocchio beat him. Oh, no, the son won, didn't he?
No, basically, what happened, they both basically got up there at the same time. And this is what happened. They both went down there at the same time and brought it back. And this, and he thought his father would be happy at the fact that they both won.
Right,
And then remember
right.
and then the father said, "No, you're no son of mine. You."
Coward told him to shoot him. Yeah, yeah.
Then basically that's when Pinocchio stands up for him and winds up shooting the father with the paint gun.
Right.
And
Oh,
that's when
I was actually hoping I was like, I hope that's not paint. I I hope that that's loaded with something else. Just take him out altogether. Just get rid of this guy. Um, yeah, no. See, that scene I thought just really further showcased the cruelty of I don't know why my camera's doing this. Please stop.
okay.
Um, can you still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay. Even
Keep
though
on
I'm
talking through it. We'll be
all right.
fine.
Even though I'm distorted, you can still hear my voice. So I thought that was one of the great elements of it was just showing that difference in how Geppetto and the Podesta were as fathers. Like Geppetto actually cared. He's not going to send his son off to war just because it's like I want to make you tougher. You're a coward. This, that, and the other. No, he genuinely loved his son and raised his son with values. Um, to get him ready for the world. But the father, the cruel nature of how he raised his son and his son finally starting to see his father for who he is, and just like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, why would you have me? All I'm trying to do is tell you we won together. That's it. And yet you want me to go out of my way and kill him, and then it hurts even more because we just saw the conversation that the two of them had before while they were in the barracks and just getting an understanding of each other. Because at first he didn't like him, and it was simply just because he was trying to be what his dad taught him to be. But when they actually sat down and they had an understanding of each other and his mind opened up, it's like, well, the world's different. And it harkens back to what Pinocchio asked earlier. Or not what Pinocchio asked, but what Geppetto said earlier is people don't or people are afraid of what they
Right.
don't understand. And the father acting that way is because he just doesn't understand. He's acting from a side of fear that he thinks is strength. But there's no strength in what you're doing. There's no strength in how you're raising your son. It's
No, there's
insane.
weakness.
Yeah, it's a lot of weakness, and I thought that that was a really deep concept, just the juxtaposition between both of them. So, um, yeah, no, and then seeing Geppetto going out and trying to find Pinocchio, looking for him, and I mean going down to his last dime, and I think that this is another thing that this movie did better than, obviously better than Disney's, was actually showing Geppetto going on this journey and trying to find all these things. It's like this is what we
Yeah.
lost. Yeah.
And you see, I'm thinking that some time period has actually changed a little bit
Hmm.
between him trying to find him because we don't know how long he's been on that road, right?
Right.
So basically, you know, Pinocchio decides to join Bellaby's circus, both to earn money for Geppetto, like we said, and then conscripted into onto the Rio Escort Italian Royal Army during
Hmm.
the Second War. So that does take place during the Second War by the strict village of Podesta, right? Or then, however, Volpi just secretly keeps the money for himself when. Okay, it's Spastatora secretly tells Pinocchio through his puppets when Willoughby discovers he tries to beat until Pinocchio attempts to defend him.
Yep.
So Pinocchio also defends him and earns his respect. So now you have two people now that have that friendship with Pinocchio. You have the son from the father that believes in the war, and then you also have Monkey from the circus.
Hmm. And both of them suffering from abusive superiors. And
Right.
Pinocchio was just, as Jiminy said towards the end, he was just being a good boy. That was it. I mean,
And
anybody with sense would, yeah,
despite him not listening, despite all that other stuff, he still had a good heart. And he managed to actually find himself with, and people winded up loving him for just for who he was because of that. And that's something I really like. Yeah, he doesn't listen to his father, but what kid doesn't? And then, what kid doesn't annoy their parents either?
it's like, this, this movie is just getting better and better to me the more we talk about it.
Yep.
Because, like, Geppetto being the perfectionist, right? He wanted everything a certain way. And he's like, he never made mistakes. But Pinocchio makes mistakes. He falls. His father gets pissed with him because he makes mistakes. And it seemed like Carlo was perfect in his eyes. It's almost like Carlo could never make a mistake. And so the moment that Pinocchio starts being, he's different, he makes mistakes, doesn't always do what he's told, it's like, dude, but you have to understand at the end of the day, we're not perfect.
No,
His
we're imperfect
imperfection,
people.
we're imperfect people. And we strive to do good. And that's all Pinocchio wanted to do. He would strive to do good despite the mistakes that he would make. And I think that's even Geppetto over time learned and realized that, especially after like Cricket talked some sense into him. He's like, you called him a, he really laid into him, sparked him to go on that journey. Go find your son. You called him a bird and this, that, and the other. And I mean, you want the world to feel sorry for you, but you're not doing anything to help yourself. You've lost. Yeah, you've lost, but you've also gained. So go get back what you gained before you lose it, and then you have nothing. This movie's so deep.
It does. It really is. It's really deep whenever you look at the layers to this movie and stuff like that. And then, you also have this other thing that winds up happening. Sebastian and Geppetto search for Pinocchio at sea. They're swallowed by the giant sea monster. During one of his performances, Pinocchio sings a despairing parody of a patriotic song to. I'm gonna go on ahead and let you say his name because I don't know. I can't say.
What with a Spazzatura?
No, it's actually Mussolini. Mussolini.
Oh, Musa. Oh, yes,
Mussolini
little
as
Mussolini. Okay, can we talk about Mussolini for a minute? So,
yeah.
just let's see when he pulls up in the car, and it's like it just keeps going and going and going. Then he finally gets out, and the bodyguard, he just picks him up and puts him. I just thought of a Lord Farquaad. Mussolini comes in short supply.
Very short supply and highly demanding.
Highly demanded. And some people think little of him.
How little is that? We don't know,
We
but
don't know.
still,
He's just not measuring up to our
no.
standards.
Oh my god. This doesn't quite measure up to our height. I mean, but anyway,
He's like a kidney bean. You will never look at chili the same again.
nope, definitely not. But then I like how basically they dedicate that song to him.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, he wants to kill Pinocchio and then also kill what's his name, the guy who was actually in charge of the carnival. And so basically, Pinocchio runs away, and
Mm-hmm.
then now we don't know what happened to the other character or whatever. But then after that winds up happening, we wind up seeing, but it's stopped by Spazzatura. They are sent over a cliff, and Felipe falls to his death, while Pinocchio rescues uh, Spazzatura. Soon after, they are swallowed by the sea monster, a reunite with Geppetto and Sebastian in its stomach, causing Pinocchio to sacrifice himself by detonating a naval mine.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so the sea creature for this movie worked because of the fact. Now, let me tell you why it worked versus why it didn't work in the Pinocchio live action adaptation for the Disney movie.
Because it looked
This
so.
was it was horrible, yeah, but this was more of in its realm of what it's supposed to be. It is atmospheric, and it's also the way that it's supposed to be in this version. The
Mm-hmm.
version that we got with the Disney version was supposed to be the whale because we're used to that. And Monstro was actually supposed to be a legend. And they don't even explain the legend of Monstro in the movie at all either. So with this one, I'm happy that we got just a sea creature that swallows Pinocchio. And that was more fitting to me in this one versus how they did it in the live action adaptation of Pinocchio.
Yeah, and I like how they called it the captain. He saluted and jumped ship. He was saying that it was a dogfish. He called it like a dogfish that had would emerge like every 10 or so years from murky depths, and then you know do its feeding almost like it was Pennywise. Only difference is Pennywise has another 17 years on that. But
Right.
he would just come up every 10 years, feed, disappear, and come back. So I mean, I just think like simple things, and it's simple, but it makes a difference. Because we didn't really need to have a whole this is the origin, the birth, and then the fertilization of such a creature from just say all right, there's this big sea creature, feeds every 10 years, pops in, pops out, comes from the murky depths. That's it. Cool. Like you said, the live action version of Disney explained didn't even explain that. And because if we're saying that it's going to be a shot, if they're going to say it's going to be a remake, I'm expecting the whale, and I didn't get a whale. I got a head with tentacles, and I hated it. I hated every last second of it. At least this creature, even though it had puckering anuses for blowholes, I mean, from the inside. But regardless, I thought it was a cool design. It was different. I liked
Worked
it,
well within that time period.
and it worked within that time period. You're absolutely right. And I also liked how it was going well when they that whole scene played out. They were in that naval minefield the entire time, and just seeing, oh, geez, did we lose John? I think we lost John, but excuse me. So as it's traveling through these naval minefields, it just kind of raises that suspension factor of, and John has returned to us. That suspension factor, or what's going to happen next? I mean, what do we have going on here? How are these going to come into play? Because I figured, okay, obviously, this is where we are. Somehow, these are going to play a role in defeating this creature. But then, while that plays a role in defeating the creature, who's the one that ends up really being the sacrificial lamb? Obviously Pinocchio, which I think harkens back, watch this, to the beginning when Pinocchio sees Jesus. Boom.
And sacrifices himself for Geppetto for the love of his father, which is also the same thing that Jesus did for the love of his father. So good call back on that. I did not realize that.
There it is. It's
So,
beautiful. Yeah,
but I like how he. Now this is my favorite thing. He winds up pressing the bomb to make it go off to make and it had like a very Jaws like feel to it, where the the thing winds up exploding.
Mm-hmm.
But also like how he sacrifices himself. He goes up to death again, and she goes, look, I want to make a deal. I want to be a real boy. And she said, you do know you'll die eventually. There's no going back from this if I do this. I don't care. I want to do this. Okay. So he winds up going in that little whirlpool, winds up
Mm-hmm.
becoming a real boy. And then he knows that his time is going to be up if he winds up dying again. There's no way of coming back after that. And I really like the fact that he gave something up to save somebody else, show that he's unselfish. And he learns a lesson within this, even though he lies his ass off to get out of the out of the sea monster.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was a clever way of actually getting out of there and then having the sea monster spit them out and then him having to sacrifice himself. I thought that was a really good way of actually doing things. I really have to say they did a really good job with this.
Absolutely. And just the last 15 minutes of the movie, and Cricket's narration. I said that speech he gave at the end towards the wood sprite, and he's like, you said this is what you said. You promised me, and I told you I would try my best. And even though I might have messed up, and even though I might have not done the best that it things did not work out the way that we were expecting them to. I tried my best, and still look what he became. He's a good boy. He made those sacrifice plays. He put himself in positions where he's like, you had to make crucial decisions, and he made the right ones. And he did that, and he sacrificed himself for his father. What more could you want? So give me that wish. I wish for him to come back to life. And she granted that. And she realized she had to reflect on herself. Yeah, you're right. I did say that.
And you know what? Jiminy also winds up using his wish unselfishly because remember,
Mhm.
it was all about him, about
Right.
self, about pleasing himself with being a novelist, being successful, fortune and fame, and he gives that up to save him. And
So,
that's so Jiminy learns a lesson as well.
mhm.
And then you also have another thing too. As parents, we mess up and everything too. We fall. We do everything that we possibly can for the kids. And then once they're grown, they're out the door and they make their own decisions. But for the time being, yes, you're going to mess up. You're imperfect, just like how Pinocchio is imperfect. Why shouldn't I give you that wish? Because you're also imperfect as well. Even though you're supposed to be his conscience, but you can only do so much.
Mhm.
That's
Absolutely.
something that I
Absolutely.
got. And then as time goes by, Geppetto winds up dying. Then
Mhm.
I'm like, man, this movie's depressing. By the time I got done with it,
It's like Pedo goes, and then Jiminy goes, then
and Spaghetti Taurus goes.
Toro goes, and it's just Pinocchio just goes off into the world to wander the earth until his time. And then what did Jiminy say? He said, did he did he
Said
die?
that he's not sure if Pinocchio is still alive or not, but he would like to think so. That he lived out the best days of his life. And then I remember this part where they're all dead and they're playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
I love that scene.
Then he breaks out in song. It's just like phenomenal. No, this was I was not expecting it to be this good, but I'm telling you, man, it's like the more I kid you not, the more we talked about this movie, the better it just seemed to get with just simple themes and nuances and attention to detail. And I think that people forget sometimes that movies do have meaning. And for me, if I can walk away with a lesson learned or a lot of thematic elements that jumped out at me, that connections can be made throughout the movie. Like you've done your job. You've told a great story. You've connected these themes, um, and it worked. And this is a far superior Pinocchio adaptation. This might be my favorite Pinocchio adaptation, actually. Um, I didn't feel played for a puppet. I didn't feel that this movie was wooden. I felt no staleness from it. I
You also
genuinely
didn't have no strings on you.
I had
So
no strings on me. No strings on me.
And
You
you
know,
know what though? I felt the same way you do though, because we had some bad adaptations of Pinocchio. We had the Jonathan Taylor Thomas movie with Walter Matthau. We also that was back in the '90s.
I was about to say that's the one I was thinking that you were referring to, and
Yep.
I remember the VHS case. I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that. Yeah,
But yeah, we had that. We also had the Pee Wee Herman fairy tale theater version.
that's right. That's right.
So we had a lot of adaptations of it, but nowhere as close as to this level and maturity of this film to entrust the viewers to go on this journey with Pinocchio and to have a different way of actually telling a story. This was good. This is fantastic. Now, my question is this: whenever I told you I'm 20 minutes into this movie, I'm already loving it better than the live adaptation. What was your first initial thoughts with it?
I well, when you first said that, or my opinion of the first 20 minutes.
Well, whenever I said that, what was your
When you said,
reaction?
okay, my reaction was, oh, I was like, well, let me get started because if you're enjoying this like that, I'm like, all right, let me take a look because I knew I was gonna check it out at some point. I just didn't know when. So I'm glad you told me so we could jump on and do this review. I'm like, all
Me
right,
too, because get this, it's rare that I actually do this on Twitter. Usually I'll go on ahead and watch the whole movie or something.
cool.
But I'm like, I'm 20 minutes into this movie and I'm already loving it better than the live action adaptation of the Disney movie. It's rare for me to even do.
And it's beautiful. It was beautiful in every way, shape, and form. This was a true purebred that could win the triple crown. Like this is it. There is no other. I don't think any other Pinocchio movie comes close at
No.
all. This was just and
But
Marvel. You know, yeah, this was a Marvel, man, and I loved everything. The animation, the story, some of the songs. Okay, I do have one. I will say one thing. Sometimes I did feel like, um, and as much as I love my Disney movies, it just seemed like at some points songs kind of just appeared. I'm like, stop singing,
right.
but it didn't take away from my enjoyment of the movie in any way, shape, or form. I enjoyed it. I just
I
kind of
felt
felt
like the
there could have been
music
maybe a
in
little
this.
less. Yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, with the music within this, I felt like it described the character and who he was supposed to set out to do.
Mm,
None of the musical numbers really took me out of it. I felt like it told a story while Pinocchio was actually singing, or vice versa, whatever characters is actually singing. So I
yeah,
think it went well with the story, and also too, they didn't use anything from Disney at all. They used original songs.
that's true. And that Papa song was really good too.
Papa, to be honest with you, I came close to downloading that on iTunes
Really.
because I liked it, but
Hey, listen, if you tell me tomorrow that you went ahead and you did it, I ain't mad at you. It wouldn't surprise me. I might end up doing it myself. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I mean, now we have to sing in full soprano voices. Papa,
at, Papa, yeah, but it's my feet they're on fire.
you cedarly bastard.
but, uh, but okay, I just want to go into a little bit of trivia, but we're not going to cover much in the trivia stuff. But this movie, get this, want to know when Guillermo actually announced this? 2011 of February 7th, announcing that Rimley and Mark Gufferson would co-direct a stop-motion animated Pinocchio film written by Del Toro in his long collaboration with Matthew Robbins.
Wow, and he's had so many projects come out
On
between
May,
and
okay, and then a year later, on May 17th, 2012, Del Toro took over as director. He then teamed up with Gustafsson, a stop motion veteran who had experience in similar stop motion features like Fantastic Mr. Fox, to assist
yep,
him in achieving his ambitious vision for the project. In February 2012, Del Toro released some concept art of Pinocchio, Geppetto, and Talking Cricket. Um, Magnificent, The Fox and the Cat. On July 30th, 2012, it was announced that the film would be produced and animated by Shadow Machine. It was originally scheduled to be released around 2013, 2014, but went into development hell with no further information furthermore about it for years. Then on then on January 23rd, 2017, over the Garden Wall, 2014 creator Patrick McHale was announced to co-write the script with Del Toro. In August 31st, 2017, Del Toro told IndieWire at the 74th International Film Festival that the film would need a budget increase of $35 million or it would be canceled. On November 8th of 2017, he reported that the project was not happening because no studios were willing to finance it.
Really? Wow. Damn. Jeez. Wow.
So we had a long ass time getting this thing made, and
It
it
was
was well done.
definitely unlike Black Adam. Even though I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to because I want to see how. I want to see. I've had a friend of mine tell me at work. He said, "Oh yeah, you ready? Excited for Black Adam?" I was like, "Heck yeah, man!" He said it was terrible. I said,
I'm just
"Okay."
gonna say this. I'm not gonna say the story itself is good, but it's just The Rock and a Black Adam outfit being The Rock. That's it.
It's so disappointing. Because you know what? The
But
thing is,
yeah,
I know he's so much better than that. Like he's got. I don't know. Two of my favorite rock movies. Three of them. I'm sorry. Maybe four. Um, his best acting to me was The Game Plan, Faster, Gridiron Gang, and oh my goodness, I'm honest.
Hitch,
The Run, yeah. Whoa, I still haven't seen that, and I
that
wanted to
was
see when it
good.
came out. Okay, uh, what was the other one? You know what? The Scorpion King is a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I love that first Scorpion King movie,
Then
but
Be Cool with John Travolta. That was also another one where he played a character.
what year did that come out?
Like 2005 or '06.
Huh? Dang. No, he has a long list of things. Remember he was in Get Smart
Yeah, that's it. Get Smart.
with Steve Carell.
Yeah, I like that one too.
There
That's
was, God damn it, what's that other one? Oh, John, help me out. Hold on, I just had it. Give me a second. It's Walking Tall.
Walking Tall was good. That was like in his the where he was still going by The Rock.
Mm-hmm. Early years, yeah.
Yep. But
Love
anyways, yeah.
it.
But yeah, if you guys happen to see Pinocchio, go on and check it out on Netflix. We definitely recommend it. Hands down, a great film. I totally recommend rewatching this thing. This thing has definitely a rewatchability, things like
Absolutely.
that. So that's everything that we had wanted to cover as far as Pinocchio goes. So I hope thank you guys for tuning in and watching this instead of popping fireworks, which people have been doing over here. So
Same
it
here.
actually goes well. The cool thing is, at least it goes in play with the story of Pinocchio. Because so, but anyways, guys, I do appreciate you guys a lot. I appreciate
Ah,
you. I appreciate you though, Josh,
he broke
for
me. I appreciate you. Oh my god. That was such an explosive way to end the show.
you're very welcome. I'm Michael Bay of Movie Lovers Unite.
Oh god, what an ambulance.
Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for our show tonight. Don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button. Comment below. Tell us what you think of Pinocchio. Did you like it or did you not like it? Comment below. We'll be back again on Monday to do some other stuff and things like that. So go ahead, stick around, and always until next time,